So yes, thanks a lot for joining my session. I am Wulf Schlachter and I'm CEO of DXBe Management. We are an innovation and strategy advisory company based in Hamburg, and with approximately 60 people around the world, we are working on, let's say, everything what is hyperscale, from, let's say, connected vehicles, autonomous driving, to robot taxi services. And of course, today I learned a lot about platforms, and there were some interesting approaches and activities as well. So yeah, it's part of our portfolio as well. If you are driving digitalization in the market and transformation and project management services, so platform is part of the business at the end of the day. And yeah, that's part of our game. And today I want to show you a little bit more about EV charging. I started in this EV charging world almost 10 years ago, and there I decided to build up a kind of a business model, what nowadays you see as high power charging in the market. So 350 kilowatt chargers, which charge your cars or your EVs within minutes. In 2012, the model was more, it started with DC charging, not with AC charging, and was 50 kilowatts. And we were talking about 4 hours charging times. Nowadays, it's a little bit different and has changed and improved. And I want to show you a little bit how the value chain is working and what you need for establishing an EV charging service. Here on the slides, you can see lots of mobility activities. So you need chargers for drones as well as for buses, for trains, and cars, of course, and all the micro-mobility stacks in the world. And we are experts in onboarding such services. To give you a short overview about the market at the moment, we have some problems, especially on the charging side due to Corona. I will tell you a little bit more about these as well. But at the moment, you have seen that in the last, especially 5 years, more than 70 new vehicles in the EV sector has been launched, and especially in market leadings like or leading markets like Norway, Germany, UK, and the Netherlands in Europe, as well as in China and in some other countries worldwide, US market, of course, as well. And what you see at the moment that we are talking about 2 million electric vehicles on the roads in Europe, and it's still going on, or it's still increasing. And from that perspective, in Germany, we have about something like 250,000 to 300,000. And from that perspective, we have a long way to go for a full decarbonized environment, or coming away or moving away from the combustion engine into a full electric landscape. What you see, especially in Germany and in the larger German or European markets, is increasement of plug-in hybrids. And this is maybe a kind of a stepstone between the full electric landscape, and that's what you see as well. That even the big OEMs in Europe, Daimler, BMW, Volkswagen, and Ford Europe, even there are working on electric vehicles or full electric vehicles. And that's part of the kind of the mobility market which is coming up or growing. And it's shifting from combustion to EV. And we have seen lots of activities in this segment. And as I said before, in 2020, we will pass 2 million EVs on the road in Europe. And at the end of the day, talking about in 2025 to 2030, it's been more than quadrupled so far. 5 times more in the next 3 to 4 years, even 5 years. And we are talking about 40 million electric vehicles in 2030 in Europe. This is, let's say, one of the targets being defined by the manufacturers. So if you have collected all the data from them and try to combine it, then we are talking about wishes of 40 million connected cars or even electric cars. At the moment, you see some developments, especially due to COVID, especially the charge point operators. So the charger piles were quite empty over the last month, depending on, well, even if you have some chargers on the motorway, the traffic went down. And we are talking about minus 70% due to COVID, 70 to 80%. Depending on if you have a public charger or even a high power charger somewhere, on the motorways in Europe. In the cities, the amounts are a little bit lower, so the decline was about 60%, 65% on the chargers. So the people were not traveling a lot, and so the reduction is, of course, part of the output of COVID. We have seen lots of activities at the moment. Especially the European Commission has just started some funding, some financial rounds to get 1 million charge points by 2025 in the market. And even in Germany, you have seen some fundings about 500 million euros to push private charge points and also to transform the old petrol station to charge points or charger parks. This is the current development, and going on. We have some market players built up, and at the moment you see lots of activities from OEMs, of course. You see a lot of utilities, and even gas and oil players are coming up or have already invested a lot. And there's still a rush in the market, especially on the OEM side. You have seen lots of merger and acquisition activities in this segment. So Volkswagen has bought a company from Austria last year. Shell has bought New Motion. You have seen that even investment companies from, let's say, the typical financial activities are coming into the market, moving into market, buying companies like Allego in the Netherlands. And there's lots of consolidation so far as well. Becoming big, growing big means also that some players, especially charge point operators, will have to look for new partners or are trying to find big partners to collaborate. So we have seen this in Germany as well with Matrix and EnBW, larger player in the utility world, and so there's lots of movement at the moment. And especially the interaction between the vehicle and the charge point manufacturers is coming up on the home market, so home charging market, as well as the workplace and even fleet management segments. So there's lots of development there at the moment, and you see some improvement and value adds being created by these corporations or these emerging players coming together. We have seen lots of activities in major roles, so especially talking about charge point operators. You have the e-mobility service providers and even the backend platform providers. So these are the main players we were talking about to providing an infrastructure on the one hand side. So charge points, connecting a car, an EV with a charge point, getting the back end behind and all the roaming. So that's what you need if you have for example, a Norwegian registered Audi e-tron and you want to charge in Germany or in Italy with this car or vice versa. then it's not like this that you need 20 different RFID cards for the authentication. In the future, it will be like this, that you're talking about smart charging. So that means the car gets a codec and a public key or a key, and it's been organized by that key that he's allowed to charge or not. So you see lots of activities in this segment, especially on bringing intelligence and data monetization models into the market. And there are a lot of players working on this. The main backend infrastructure and the functionalities like energy management or billing and roaming capabilities, this is given, and this is not a rocket industry anymore, say it like this. So you have to look on your portfolio, and you have to check out for new opportunities, and especially in these segments of home charging and fleet management and workplace charging. There's a lot of space for improvement, and there's a lot of activities at the moment in these, let's say, 3 stakeholder roles. They are driving the business there extremely forward at the moment. We have just talked about platform before. I have just made a small model how such a charging infrastructure generally works. You have the sensor, for example, in the charger pile. He collects data from the car. He also sends data to the car in the future, much more than only, well, is the car or the driver allowed to charge at my pile? Then you need, of course, a backend and cloud edge for computing on the one hand side, as well as a charge point operating backend, as well as MSP backend. And of course, you need the connectivity of the chargers. They must be intelligent. They must give you advice if this charger is not working, or you have to select another one. So yeah, that's part of the value chain. And of course, the data you generate from the charger, from the car, will be stored somewhere, or has to be stored somewhere. And on the other side, you have a channel which is the responsible for hardware, software development, and also end-to-end testing. And of course, installation. If you are not only installing one charger, if you're talking about charger parks, then it must be somewhere defined, and the specifications should be made there. In this, it's not a silo, it's an open architecture. It's API gateway based, so it's easy to adapt, for example, a monetization model to an existing platform. So it's no silo infrastructure, what we had in the past or in the beginning, especially on the utility side, because they came from the energy side, and then they built a kind of e-mobility platform, and this was more or less based on the old stacks. So talking about complex SAP systems or Oracle databases and so on. But this has gone, and even the last players have decided to move into an open and agile platform landscape to handle with or to work with. Where you can easily adapt new requirements and build even new products and solutions. Yeah, what's the outlook for 2025 EV charging? What I've already mentioned, you see a high growth within this this market, but there's also a kind of consolidation on the backend provider side. So especially in the CPO market, you have seen lots of players worldwide. So where I made an audit, I think 4 years ago, we were talking about approximately 60 providers. Nowadays, we are talking about more than 200 charge point operators, which have an own platform. And at the end of the day, we believe, or I believe, that there will be a consolidation. And it's kind of a movement to get the services closer to the car, and to have a more, let's say, customer experience, or generate a more customer experience inside the car. This is, say like this, the most important topic at the moment. If you're working with kind of enterprise software architectures and those companies. You've also mentioned in the, or it was also mentioned in the session before, that even Chinese players like Alibaba and others are coming into the market. They have also own charging stacks built and are using that in China. So it's time. Let's see how the big players like Microsoft, Oracle, and others could or will move also in this segment, maybe. So you never know. They made some smaller projects in the past, but well, I'm still waiting for the big bang of them as well. And yeah, that's part of the technology we are currently talking about, and how to handle this. Last but not least, well, we are continuing with the growth in the EV charging sector. We haven't still reached the mass market yet. That's an important issue. You see, for example, here on the right side, this Volkswagen ID.3. It will come up in September this year, hopefully. So it's always a question of how good is the software running and how the development has been made. And the same you have with these charging activities as well, because charging is one part of the new ecosystem of an EV car. And from that perspective, yeah, also depending on the charger and the backend. And that's the reason why, yeah, we see in the next 3 to 5 years, yeah, a kind of real competition, and also yeah, combined with a market consolidation at the end of the day. So the smaller companies will definitely not survive. So at the moment, everyone is looking for mass market and many cars on your platform, and getting data from the car and from the customer. And that's the model what Elon Musk with Tesla has driven through the market since more than 10 years. So, well, you see, especially in Europe, there are some players trying to overtake him, but it's still a long way. And from my perspective, also it takes 3 to 5 years to have kind of an eye level from those players coming up right now into this EV car segment or EV segment. Yeah, that's it. I was quite depending on the delay we had. I hope you enjoyed my slides, and yeah, I will move over to the Q&A session within a few seconds or minutes, depends on the question Thomas is asking me right now.